So I don't think it's a surprise to anybody when I tell you that The Last of Us 2 is selling well. I don't think I ever said the game was going to flop. Now, I do think that in the long run, this game is not going to sell as well as the first one, though you could argue that that's the same for any sequel, right? I think it could have outsold the first one, and it still may outsell the first one, but I personally don't think that's going to happen, considering the first one is pretty universally loved. This one is pretty much splitting its fan base down the middle, from what I can tell. This is just me kind of, looking around. I'm not basing this on any hard numbers or anything. It's just from what I've seen. Talking about the game and showing a lot of the stuff that's happening with it are pretty popular. I think a lot of people are interested in the story. That's why videos on The Last of Us 2 usually do pretty well. I think there's a lot of disgruntled fans out there, and how can you blame them for the way that they've treated, characters and used them for sales? They've faked trailers with Joel and lied to people about Joel, saying Joel, basically they made it look like he was going to be a big part of the game. And then, they take him out in the first 2 hours. So it's like, okay. But there are a lot of upset people. But I never said the game was going to be a failure. I'm pretty sure I said that the game was going to sell well. Which really brings the confusion here to me. Like, why did Naughty Dog and Sony do what they were doing? If anything, I think they've lost potential money by doing that. There's for sure some people that didn't buy the game because of the actions of Sony and Naughty Dog, or the way they were hurting channels and people on Twitter. That's why it doesn't make any sense to me what they did. It was always going to sell well. They should have just did nothing when the leaks came out, and it would have passed. But instead, they made such a big deal about it that they brought more attention to it. I almost wonder if they wanted people to know about it. We'll never know. We'll never know. But it just baffles me that they decided to go out and just copyright everybody just talking about the game when it was always going to sell well no matter what. I mean, they're already paid for pre-orders on it. The pre-order numbers alone show that it was going to be a big hit. But like I said, the real story is going to be, how does this game perform long term? Because PlayStation 5, from what I understand, is going to be backwards compatible. So you can buy this game, buying a PlayStation 5, let's say you didn't get a PS4, you can still pick this game up. It's there, and it will run better from what I gather. Like, the PlayStation 4 or 5 is going to make your PlayStation 4 games run better. So I don't know, and I don't know if that's true. I know it's going to be with the Xbox, but I don't know if that's true for PS4. So you'll have to fact check me on that one. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that it's backwards compatible. I think it is. It would be stupid for PlayStation 5 not to play PlayStation 4 games. But anyway, it just baffles me why Naughty Dog and Sony chose to silence channels based on the fact that they knew the game was always going to do well. Were they that scared about the decisions that they made with this game? But I just find articles like this funny. The Last of Us 2 beats the hate with 4 million copies sold. Take that, haters! Isn't it funny that a bunch of people that are anti-capitalistic are using capitalism to shove it in the face of people they don't like? It's kind of funny, isn't it? But anyway, here are the headlines. This one was just a cringy title I wanted to share. And there's this one. The Last of Us 2 is the fastest selling PS4 exclusive ever. Over 4 million sold in 3 days. Now, I'd like to see what are the sales right now. It was always going to break records. The first game was a huge success. Very well-loved game over time. And I would imagine the amount of people that have played that aren't reflective in the actual sales of the game, because I would imagine, that game was taking off when physical copies were still a big thing. So I would imagine that's not taking into account the amount of people that bought it used. So I think it's just interesting, This game was always going to do well. First one was a success. This one was going to be better because you're going to have all the people that bought it over time, new and used, buy it this time right out of the gate because they want to play the game. So let's take a look at the actual story here. This one's a little bit better written. The Last of Us 2 has sold 4 million copies in 3 days. The Last of Us 2 is already the biggest PS4 exclusive. The Last of Us Part 2 has beaten Spider-Man to become the fastest-selling PS4 exclusive, Sony announced today. The game managed to sell over 4 million copies in just 3 days. This figure likely includes both physical and digital, but Sony did not specify. The previous record holder, Insomniac's Spider-Man, was able to sell 3.3 million copies over the same period, itself up from God of War's 3.1 million. We are so immensely grateful to the millions of fans around the world that have played The Last of Us 2 and shared their experiences with us over the last week, said director and Naughty Dog VP Neil Druckmann. We set out to tell a new kind of story that deals with difficult themes and would challenge you in unexpected ways. Hearing how the experience has resonated with so many of you and witnessing the type of thoughtful discussions it has sparked has been so incredible. So this is what's interesting. I gotta say, and this is I've talked to, and I don't like what Sony's done with censorship. I've talked about this a few times. This is one of the problems I had with this game, like how they've handled, like it's okay to show that hookup scene with Abby and the Neil Druckmann self-insert, but 2D anime girl games, those have to be censored. It's funny to me how they handle that. But as far as like exclusive games go, the PlayStation has that down. And one of the conversations I've been having with people on Xbox versus PlayStation when it comes to PS5 versus the Xbox Series X, man, that's such a dumb name. Like you can shorten the PlayStation name to PS5. What do you shorten Xbox Series X to? Hate that name. But the thing with the Xbox is there's no exclusives. Everything is multi-platform. I can buy any Xbox game on PC now. But I can't buy God of War on PC, and I can't get Spider-Man on PC, and I can't get The Last of Us on PC. Sony has the exclusives down. They do. So, anyway, let's get back to this. Some initially cast doubts that The Last of Us Part 2 would be able to overtake Spider-Man given the latter's wider appeal and lower age rating. Despite that, and amidst a worldwide crisis no less, Naughty Dog's sequel managed to set records. The game has also been very well received by critics. Kirk called it a generation-defining masterpiece in our review. If you're one of the millions who jumped in it at launch, we've got a few useful guides that'll help you unlock every safe and every superhero trading card. So that's where we're at with The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I'm not shocked. I never said that it was going to be a failure, and I don't think anybody else said it was going to be a failure. I did wonder how it was going to affect sales, and I still wonder how it's going to affect sales. Just because it sold well as it first came out doesn't mean that it's going to be a long-running hit. Dreamcast, the failed Sega system, sold really well at launch too. How did it work out for that system? And to be fair, I mean, I'm saying this could still be a massive hit and it won't matter in the long run. Maybe it'll still come out and define game releases. I don't know. But I do think that the full story isn't complete here. And I wonder, what are these sales going to look like down the road? How are they going to look in a month, 2 months? Is it going to outsell Spider-Man in the long run? Because Spider-Man still sells very well today. I think that's the real question here, and I eagerly await the answer to that. So anyway, a lot of interesting stuff coming out on the game here. Japanese release of The Last of Us Part 2 censors that Abby scene. I thought that was pretty funny. Pretty funny indeed. And PewDiePie has been getting a lot of reactions too. So it's been funny watching the clips of PewDiePie like reacting to scenes in this game. He's probably the biggest person streaming this game. I was just watching him stream it about an hour ago. He's streaming to 83,000 people. 83,000 people watching him play this game right now. And that's probably I'm sure it's been higher at other moments. He's probably the biggest person streaming this game. I would say. I think that's a fair assumption. And, you know, it's funny you see articles like this. PewDiePie reveals why The Last of Us helped him achieve YouTube success. This is kind of some weird bait. It came out June 19th. But the real question here is, does he hate it? Does PewDiePie hate The Last of Us Part 2? His complicated opinion on the game explained. Why are you explaining his opinion? It looks like they're trying to spin it, right? Trying to spin how he feels about the game. And I think that that's pretty interesting. If you watch his clips and if you watch him streaming the game, it seems like he's mixed on it. And I think that it is complicated. He thinks a lot of it's cringe, but he does seem to be enjoying the combat. And I think that's where a lot of people are. I've been playing through it. The combat's as good as the first game. I like the combat in it. However, I think the story sucks. And it seems to be the same case with him. He doesn't seem to think Abby is a very good character like most people. He complains about how she looks so buff because it's really cringy how big her arms are. Like, why has she got all those gains, man? You know? Did she eat all of the protein at the survivors camp? She would have had to get those gains, especially as a woman. So, yeah, I think it is complicated, but I think at the end of the day, he's probably going to say that it's in the middle. He's in the middle with it. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. What do you guys think about the sales? How do you feel about the PewDiePie clips? I think they've been pretty funny. Give me your thoughts on all this, guys. Also, if you would share the video, make sure you still subscribe. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. And make sure you share the video, throw likes up, and also comments are very important. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.